We're looking at vitamin C, this miraculous vitamin that we all know about, but it's often overlooked. Like, it's so simple, cheap, it's available, and we might all be deficient in it. And it could potentially help almost every condition. And that's what Brad and I are going to talk about today. So I'm sure you've got some vitamin C in the cupboard. Hey, Brad?
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, it's one of those essential well, it is essential vitamin, but it's one of those essential supplements too that you keep on hand. Vitamin C powder I've been using with for myself and the family. And yeah, look, we could talk a bit about the quality and everything there too, but it's really important that you get it from your food as well. I think that's even more important than a supplement as well.
Yeah, so upcoming in this stream, Brad and I are going to look at 3 different research papers. We're going back right back to the beginning, almost a century ago, of the original one. And there was a awareness of the vitamin C. And then we'll look at one with rats and sepsis, which is an internal infection. And then we'll look at the final one, which is covering a range of autoimmune conditions. But I really love talking about long COVID and help for people with chronic fatigue and that. And I'm always thinking of these most simple things like vitamin C and how can we help that. And that's why I'm trying to bring awareness to vitamin C in this little stream here. But scurvy, let's talk about scurvy and those symptoms and how does vitamin C, and we'll talk about the basics, shall we, Brad?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So we know that it was found in one of the papers you've mentioned, or you'll have linked to, or we're referring to, is
Yes.
that original one with War, and was it 1932 or something that they found out that scurvy, they isolated scurvy from lemons.
Yeah,
Sorry,
1930s.
vitamin C from lemons,
That's
and found
correct.
out it treated scurvy. And yeah, look, it was a great finding in nutritional history, and it was really helped pave the way for vitamin supplementation and the importance of vitamins in general. So, but yeah, with scurvy itself, it's interesting. It's a lot to do with the collagen synthesis. So, as we know, vitamin C plays a huge role in collagen synthesis, especially the amino acids proline and lysine. It's involved in enzymatic actions, and without vitamin C, the collagen matrix breaks down, and your connective tissue essentially breaks down, and this is what we know to be as scurvy. So very important, and we know with skin health and connective tissue health in general, vitamin C plays a crucial role in supplementation as part of any, if you're supplementing with collagen or anything like that, it's really important you get your vitamin C, or you have adequate vitamin C within the diet.
And mammals can't make vitamin C. We've got to get it through food sources.
Essential, yeah.
And going back to what is scurvy, in case you're out there and you might have heard what scurvy is, but I'll just give a little bit of a basis of a bit more to scurvy. But back then, people were developing it on the ships, and because they were away and they weren't eating fresh vegetables and fruit, and there's no real specific, it's a combination of symptoms, scurvy, but there's no real test for scurvy. Like, you have rheumatoid factor for rheumatoid arthritis, or you have cancer markers. For scurvy, there's no real test for that. It's only a collective symptoms of bleeding gums, or easily bruising, or fatigue, or joint pain. But the vitamin C from the lemons cured that. So a question I want to put out there is, I mean, did it fully, or did it just alleviate symptoms? But this will tie back in later when we talk about autoimmunity and more evidence on what vitamin C does for autoimmunity. But just scurvy, it's a collective of symptoms: gum disease, bleeding gums, bruising. How about you watching this? Do you potentially have some of those things? Sore joints, pain, fatigue. Yeah, so the study Brad was talking about was the first one to show in guinea pigs, it was, that these guinea pigs didn't get scurvy after they had the vitamin C. Have you ever had pet guinea pigs, Brad, for the kids?
A tangent. No, I haven't. That's one pet I haven't had. No.
They're really sensitive for vitamin C, and the food is. My daughter had some, and they need to fortify the food with vitamin C, or of course have fresh vegetables with vitamin C. So in that particular study, they I guess they forced scurvy in the guinea pigs, gave them vitamin C, and voila, they didn't have scurvy anymore, or those symptoms. They might have been just fatigued still.
Yeah, and you've got another study that we may discuss too, and the sepsis induced in the rats.
Yeah, let's get onto that.
And that was interesting as well.
Yeah, let me see if I can jump across on the screen. You're delayed. It should come up there. I've got it on the screen now. The role of vitamin C. No, that's not the one. This one here, high dose vitamin C injections ameliorates against sepsis-induced rats. And it was the markers of the inflammation and particular cardiac damage. And I wanted to bring this one in because of all the damage with the COVID jab and long COVID, or whatever you want to call it, that's going on. I won't get into that. I think most of the viewers know about that. But is vitamin C important for this and repair and protection? And do you want to go over this, or should I briefly go over this study?
Well, I think just on
Just give the real basics.
I think absolutely vitamin C is important for protection. This is sepsis induced in rats, and it's also been able to, it can stop things like apoptosis, like cell death, unwanted cell death, and obviously it acts as an antioxidant. It's a redox agent. Reduction oxidation is the correct terminology for it, and because the oxidated form of vitamin C plays a huge role in the body too, and yeah, it has these protective mechanisms as well, but it works in conjunction with a lot of other nutrients, and I think this is important too. You know, things like vitamin E, for, you know, when we're talking protective mechanisms and as an antioxidant and against free radicals and damage. So I think that's very important. But also, if you're taking vitamin C as a supplement and you're only having isolated vitamin C, especially in high doses, that can actually be detrimental.
Yeah, great point.
So I think that's, before we keep going on about vitamin C, I believe it's important for people out there that are listening that if you're going to supplement with vitamin C, it's good to have a variation in form, so you're not just doing straight ascorbic acid. I like using magasorbate or sodium sorbate, a combination of things. But more importantly, you have it with bioflavonoids or other really antioxidant type compounds. Quercetin's another one, rutin, these sort of compounds that go well together. And of course, if you're getting it with food or getting your vitamin C from food, you're going to get all these other wonderful compounds with it, including some other minerals and nutrients that work synergistically with vitamin C, and it helps it work correctly in the body. If we go into high doses of straight ascorbic acid, this is where you could run into a bit of trouble, and your system's not really geared for that too.
Like anything, yes.
Yeah. So I think this is important before we keep going on. If we're talking about supplementation or the utilization of vitamin C, very important that you try and go food first. And then if you need to get a supplement, you go with a supplement that has a bit of variation in the forms of vitamin C, and it's using bioflavonoids or other polyphenol compounds, or things like rutin and quercetin and this sort of thing, because it will work synergistically with those compounds, and it'll be much more protective and less likely to cause you any issues.
Yeah, there's so much in there that you just mentioned. It is extremely safe, and I'd have to say, like in this study with the rats, if you're going to live or die and have ascorbic acid straight, of course it's going to be a life saver and important. And Brad mentions how it could potentially have some danger associated with it, but quite minimal. But then if you're having all the food and the antioxidants through, say, a smoothie or fresh salads every day, and you have the ascorbic acid, it minimizes that. But then also taking a further step, I guess what Brad's saying is having a particular supplementation that's as closely mimicking nature as possible. So the ultimate would be a mandarin with the vitamin C and all the rutin and the bioflavonoids in that. And then the supplement would be as closely mimicking that natural product. Is that what you mean, Brad?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was saying. And I think it's important to note, you touched on it a little bit there, and I think in this particular study that we're looking at, I think it was only 0.5 milligrams of vitamin C that was needed to correct or...
It was 500 with the rats. It was 500.
Oh, was that? I thought it was
zero point 0.5 grams.
No, milligrams. 0.5
milligrams.
Something was 0.5 milligrams. Was it not that study?
Let me bring it up. I'm pretty sure it was 500 grams per kilogram, because often the chewable ones...
grams.
Sorry, milligrams. Did I say grams? Let's get this right. Milligrams per kilogram of body weight.
Yeah.
So you might have read about the actual rats, because obviously they're not kilogram rats. Let me clarify that.
Oh yeah, there is.
So they would have been
sham group. Yeah,
receiving
high dose.
Yeah.
High dose. There's a high dose vitamin C, 500 milligrams per kilogram IV. The animals in each group were treated with
500 milligrams.
0.5 milligrams.
That's all right. Easy to make.
Studies.
Because I remember thinking, like in your regular supermarket, vitamin C is so available, and often people grab those chewable 500 milligrams tablet chewable. And reading this, I thought, well, how many would I need to eat for my body weight? But obviously that would give you diarrhea.
And look, there is a whole dosing regime that you maybe it was the original. I know with the scurvy findings, they just needed a very, very, very low dose.
Yes, that's might have been where you got it. Yeah,
maybe that's where I was getting that extreme
exactly.
Low dose. So if you're going to correct scurvy or prevent scurvy, you just need minimal, absolutely, just a touch.
Yes.
So this highlights where people that are on diets like the carnivore diet are stating that they don't need vitamin C.
Great point. Now, yes, Brad, get into that.
Now, there's another reason too, which I'll highlight as well, is vitamin C uses the GLUT1 transporter, which is the GLUT1 transporter for glucose. Okay, so to be taken up in the body. So if you're in a high carbohydrate or high sugar diet, you compromise your uptake of vitamin C. And there is also another mechanism. I think it's bringing it in through the intestines, a similar way. It is a shared facilitated pathway with glucose. So if you have high glucose intake, your high sugar diet, you are going to compromise your vitamin C intake, especially if you're constantly got that sugar, if it's coming from drinks, artificial foods and the likes. So you're regular at the bakery, you're going to compromise that vitamin C. And I often look in diets, I always look at my vitamin C to sugar ratio in my patients' diets. How much glucose is coming in and how regular is it coming in versus what are they getting from fresh fruit and veg, other potential avenues of vitamin C. And often that ratio can be really warped. And we're going to get into it a bit more with the autoimmunity as well, in regards to inflammation. And we know that sugar's like throwing kerosene on the fire when it comes to inflammation. And then you've got the double whammy of you're preventing vitamin C uptake too, or reducing its uptake
Can
dramatically if you've got high sugar diet.
mm-mm.
Just to track back, sorry to
Yes, the carnivore.
I mentioned carnivore. So I was talking about how you just need minimal amounts. So on a carnivore diet, um, and some keto diets too, you will be completely off the carbs. You cannot successfully do a carnivore diet and have sugar in the diet. So you've got that GLUT1 transporter freed up, and then that transport in the intestines as well, or that absorption in intestines is not can't be compromised because you haven't got sugar in the diet. This is where this combination and what we see in the literature when people have high red meat diets, and we're seeing negative outcomes. When if we're not testing for high sugar in those diets, then that could be the main culprit in those negative outcomes as well.
Mm-mm.
So it's a little bit confusing. We're going down another rabbit hole here, but basically, you want to eat high meat. You got to stay way off the sugar, and if you're eating high meat and you're not having any fresh fruit and veg, then you're going to have minimal vitamin C coming in, and you cannot have any sugar or glucose at all. And some people have reported that even with lean meats, that there is some vitamin C in meat, and that can be enough. That's what's been reported. However, it's always a good idea if you can balance the diet with some sort of vitamin C intake, and if you're just doing a meat-based diet, then maybe you look at things like liver, organ meats, that where you'll get that fat-soluble vitamin C, and that will really bump your vitamin C up. So just some important details there, and a nice tangent, I thought, to jump into.
Yeah, just to summarize a little bit and add my 2 cents to that, with patients going on the carnivore diet, they see a lot of symptoms improve. But as Brad mentioned about previous, they might have been eating higher sugar. So it's more about removing the sugar, and then their symptoms improve. And a lot of things improve with the carnivore
Recording
diet.
in progress.
Oh, you just record. I heard a
Sorry,
voice.
I didn't know you'd hear that. It's probably come through right to the
Yeah. So that's a great point, Brad, about that. Yeah. So let's get on to. So we've talked about the basics of scurvy, vitamin C, the original study in the 30s, about 100 years ago, and then we've talked about these sepsis rats. So again, they were two groups of rats, and one was given IV vitamin C. It was IV, and it was 500 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. And then the third group were given nothing. They were given septis, and they 70% of them died. And basically, this, to summarize the study, many more survived that were given the IV vitamin C, and
40%. It's only 40% mortality. I believe.
Yeah, yep.
So 70% versus 40%. So
yeah,
I'd know which group I'd rather be in.
And then we often talk about synergy and other bioflavonoids and antioxidants and vitamin E, etc., etc. So this is all isolation of just the vitamin C, and the mechanisms are in this particular study was about the inflammatory pathways and cardiac markers and cardiac protection. So if we're combining it, just think of the power there, adding vitamin C, high dose, adding those other things, and then in a lot of conditions through working through the inflammation pathways, you're going to get a benefit. And yeah, so let's get on to the third one, which is about the autoimmune. See if I can bring that up on the screen. Getting better at this, Brad. There we are, transition. So this particular one was this year. I'm trying to get the latest research possible to give you an insight of what they're finding right now with our natural therapies. And this particular one was the role of vitamin C in selected autoimmune and immune-mediated diseases. I'm not sure if it's slightly cut off on the screen there, but this was looking at a whole range of autoimmune conditions, so varied, but carrying that thread of autoimmunity. And there was rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, Crohn's. The list goes on, even Alzheimer's disease. Yeah, do you want to add anything about this, Brad? We'll get the conversation started.
Yeah, well, look, I think it highlights the importance of vitamin C in autoimmunity. And uh, look, it's one of those supplements, and I've been guilty of this too, that you kind of neglect a little bit. But like I said too, with my patients, I am always looking at vitamin C versus glucose ratios. And it's quite common, especially when you're talking about something like rheumatoid arthritis, where the joints are a specific focus, that my patients, when they have sugar in their diet, they can feel the pain almost instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an initial or an instant benefit to getting that ratio right, getting off the sugars, but making sure you've got that vitamin C intake as well. And the long-term benefits certainly show up in the literature as well. So I think it should be a part of any. Well, usually it's at least a cofactor in a lot of supplements. I personally prescribe. So I heard vitamin C. They may even listen to this and go, "Oh, vitamin C is good for autoimmunity," and they go out, they get the supplements, but they change nothing, and then they've
Mm-hmm.
got bad habits. Or they
True,
might
true.
be on a carnivore diet, not eating any fruit and veg, and not getting
Yes.
any vitamin C's for a thing. They might have high amounts of sugar and what have you, and they're just trying to top up the supplements to fix things. That's not how this
Yes.
works.
Yes.
You've got to treat the whole picture here, and vitamin C plays a role. And this research shows a significant role, and how you ingest your vitamin C and metabolize your vitamin C, that all needs to be looked at, and you need to be on the right forms of vitamin C,
Mm-mm.
and you need to work out what the right dosing is going to be for you and how long you're dosing it for. There might be a place not just for autoimmunity, but for other conditions as well. We know IV vitamin C for cancer, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There's a role that where vitamin C might need to be dosed high or taken intravenously for a
Mm-hmm.
short period, and then you need to come off it, especially if you're doing uh, integrative. You take an integrative approach, and you're doing other treatments as well in conjunction with vitamin C for something like cancer, let's say, and
Mm-hmm.
you need to have it at specific times,
Mm.
before and after treatments, after conventional treatments. So there's a lot to consider. And I think if you're just having a stab in the dark at this, treating a condition, I think it's worthwhile trying to get in with a health practitioner and work out what the right form, the right dose, and when to take it. All those
Yes.
things where you've got to work out with a practitioner.
Oh,
And
I'd like to add to that. Although, out of a lot of vitamins and minerals and herbs, this is one of the safer ones. So there's more wiggle room for taking more or taking a different form. So just a little bit of a pushback.
well,
But
yeah, well, no, you're right. And safety is not really what I'm uh, talking about here. Is more about the
effect.
effectiveness. Yeah, the
Yes, yes.
effectiveness of using it, because so many people get on supplements and say they don't work, and then when you work out what they're actually doing with supplements, it's going, well, you're not using it properly. So, there's a lot to
Well, the most
consider.
effective way, yes. Let me
Yeah.
just show this one in the study. This was the figure from the last article on autoimmunity, but it summarizes many of the effects of vitamin C as an antioxidant. So back at the beginning, helping scurvy, and I mentioned, I will come back to that, but about what is scurvy, and it's helping bleeding gums, it's helping joint pain, it's helping fatigue, and that these are the common little themes that make up scurvy. But if we look at what it actually does here, it is an antioxidant. It is anti-inflammatory. It has all these beneficial actions. So then tying that into other health conditions, could vitamin C be equally important for those? So the answer is, of course, yes. But then, as Brad says, is it the right form? Are there other minerals and vitamins missing? Is there a greater need to push a certain pathway of inflammation more by adding specific herbs for anti-inflammatory action? But according to this, and my linking it in with its basic actions, it is going to help all conditions through these actions. So you look at that, it's even cardioprotective. So important.
And going back to that second study on the rats, where they looked at damage to the heart and how significant vitamin C was at preventing and repairing that damage. So very important for cardiovascular health.
Yeah, there was, and this particular study, as all of the studies of science, is limited, saying always at the end of the study they'll say more research needs to be done to confirm this. So this particular one, inside the study, they said it was somewhat effective for all of these conditions: diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's. It was effective in all of them, but many of them, they said, somewhat protective or somewhat helpful, but more research needs to be done. But if you're watching this out there and you do have a health condition, you're simply fatigued, or you're diagnosed with chronic fatigue, or long COVID, you've got an autoimmune condition, you've got IBS, the list could go on. Hey, Brad?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, they touch on its mechanism of we've touched on the antioxidant component. Interesting enough, Alzheimer's was one of the ones that had moderate effects versus some of the other conditions, like you're saying, that was a bit of a limited effect. I think moderate effect on RA, periodontitis, and Alzheimer's, and then limited effect on MS, Sjogren's, type 1 diabetes, Crohn's, Hashimoto's, pernicious anemia, and obviously saying more out. That's in your little one of the logos you pulled up, but
the figure,
yeah, figure you pulled up, and sorry, not logo, but figure.
I'll just pull it off across so they could see it. So it was slightly cut off. And then if you're watching this, you'll be able to see it just on the right side there. Strength of evidence, limited, moderate, limited. But it was there, but there, as always in these scientific studies, they're always bringing it back to...
I was actually looking at figure 2 that you had up before. The yellow circle and everything.
Okay.
That was up.
Let me go back to it.
A good layout of it all. It's got the evidence profile as a bottom part of that. But what I'm looking at there, it says antioxidant / immunomodulator in the middle. There, that one.
That's one, yeah.
And it looks... We haven't really talked much about its immunomodulation properties. So what immunomodulation is, for those who may not be aware, is balancing the immune system. So there's a lot of things going on. Inflammation isn't necessarily a bad thing. We need to have inflammation, but we need to have it regulated so it's not going out of control, causing damage in the body. And also there's different T cells that have different roles. We want to make sure they're in balance, and with autoimmunity, this is a big problem. They're usually out of balance, and there's more inflammation than there should be, and so forth. So vitamin C has a huge role in balancing the immune system, and similar to things like zinc and vitamin A do the same as well. So there's it's a big part of what we do when we treat autoimmune conditions, is looking to balance that immune system. And vitamin D is often discussed heavily in this context,
Mm-hmm.
and plays a huge role. And we know with vitamin D and autoimmunity, if you don't have vitamin D right, you it's going to be a real struggle, and you're not really going to get any resolve with your autoimmune condition. Maybe vitamin C is as significant. We just don't give it the attention that we kind of take it for granted, I guess. But I would say vitamin C could easily be in that that camp as well, the same camp as vitamin
Mm-hmm.
D as far as immunomodulation goes.
Yeah, that's a excellent point, Brad. And as this study was all revolving around autoimmunity, that's a really critical point about immune modulation, because in autoimmunity, you want to really modulate the immune system. So, really great point. Let's go into dosing of vitamin C and touch on a little bit about our preferences or experience. I'll just start off by saying, for those might be watching this and not knowing really much about vitamin C, let me just move that, put it on us. But vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin. So there are fat-soluble vitamins, water-soluble vitamins, and vitamin C is water-soluble, meaning we take it and then we excrete it. So that was the problem with the sailors on the boat, is they were off at sea and they weren't eating the vegetables or the fruit with vitamin C. And then little by little, their vitamin C levels dropped. So that will tie into the dosing that Brad and I will talk about. But as we have a dose or we have IV vitamin C, the levels will drop down. And if we went on a carnivore diet and we had increased levels of vitamin D, our vitamin C would eventually drop to dangerous levels of vitamin C. But do you want to carry on, Brad, and talk a little bit about your protocols or your vitamin C recommendations or whatever about dosing
Yep.
with vitamin C?
So people might have heard the old adage out there, food first, farmer last. I certainly try and look at things like that. And vitamin C is one of those ones that really try and get it correct in the diet. Even if I feel like I need to supplement with vitamin C, I'm always trying to get it correct in the diet. And I look at fresh fruit and veg, and people do people have access to fresh fruit and veg for a start? If they don't, then I might guide them on to frozen fruit and veg. That, like, organic blueberries is a favorite of mine.
Mm.
That may that they're frozen snap after they're picked. So if people don't know that when fresh fruit and veg are picked, they start losing their vitamin C straight away. So they need to be snap frozen and kept that way, and till they get to you, and then they do still lose a bit of vitamin C. And obviously, I'd rather people have fresh produce, but it is one way of getting it if they can't get access to going out to their garden and ripping something off, getting all that vitamin C. So that's the food thing. If that's inadequate, then or even still, like treating allergies, for example, is vitamin C will usually play a big role for me doing that. And uh, there there can be numerous ways of dosing. The 500 milligram chewables are quite common. We often see a lot about 1,000 milligram doses in supplements at the moment, and
Chewable ones or
some
tablets, yes.
yeah, or even capsules.
Yes,
So
yes.
one of the ones I recommend is high in glutathione, or not high, but has glutathione in it, and other antioxidants, vitamin E. It's quite synergistic.
Mm.
There's some liposomal Cs I've been using as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they tend to have a bit of a different type of absorption rate, and you can get that higher dose. Um, because as we know, if you dosing with vitamin C and you go above that 500 milligrams, you start absorbing less the more you consume. But there's other factors to take into consideration, and that mightn't apply to IV vitamin C, for example. And like I said, if you're having liposomal vitamin C, then that's another way of high dosing without having that reduced absorption effect. And obviously, too, there's bowel tolerance, the old school bowel tolerance thing. If it causes diarrhea, then you're dosing way too high.
Mm.
So why am I talking about high dosing? Because in most cases, you don't necessarily need to do that. Just adequate or regular dosing around that 500 milligrams, maybe twice or three times a day, can be really beneficial. But if you've got real bad allergies, if your immune system's shot in winter, you can do high dosing, and we've got it's controversial, but the orthomolecular medicine, it sort of focuses on high dose vitamin treatments. There was the vitamin C guy that used to show up in a lot of those documentaries and everything a decade ago, and he got shut down during COVID. Of course, he was really going on about high dose vitamin C for everything, and there's certainly potential for doing high dose vitamin C. However, we don't have good, strong literature to support it. So again, if you're going to dose more than 1,000 milligrams a day, or in one go, I think you'd be wanting to talk to an experienced practitioner before you go down that pathway. But if you're doing anywhere between 500 and 1,000 milligrams of a high quality supplement, and you're doing that, once a day, then you should be fine, and you can get real good benefits by doing that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with dosing. If people want to go extremely high doses, we're talking about grams, I think you're looking at IV, intravenous, and that's kind of not in my I don't really prescribe that. And in fact, I've had a lot of trouble finding intravenous locations for some of my patients, because intravenous vitamin C and intravenous glutathione can be really good options for many
things.
Country. Well, not just in the country, even Sydney clinics, there was a lot that got shut down.
True.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure now where I'd go for intravenous.
That tells you something. They
Yeah,
shut them down.
Yeah.
They're over the
Well,
target.
no, I don't know if they were shut down.
They were, yes. Same in Perth.
Yeah, I think they have had come under scrutiny and been shut down. But
Same with hyperbaric chambers.
Yeah, so there is a whole nother level, whether it's orthomolecular dosing or that IV dosing of high levels when you go into grams, you hear some amazing stories at that. But I guess that's not what we're really discussing here. We're discussing therapeutic doses, which you can get quite effective therapeutic doses, especially if you're having them in conjunction with other bioflavonoids or other supplements that are going to complement vitamin C. With 500 milligrams 2 or 3 times a day, that can be more than enough, for 1,000 milligrams twice a day if you're getting the right type of capsule.
And as Brad always mentions through the videos, and I agree as well, is it's really case by case and up to the person sitting in front of you. So it's hard to see on a video, this is the dosage, this is what you should do, because it really varies. Whereas one person, just for general health or to be synergistic with those herbs or other nutrients to help them, might be a lower dose, whereas someone else might be a higher dose. It really depends. Yeah. Absolutely. I dose probably higher on vitamin C as a general rule, just because it's water soluble and it's effective myself. Just because it's water soluble, so I just can't help but think it's always going to be lower. And back to the very beginning of the scurvy and those little symptoms that people are getting of fatigue and bleeding gums and sores that won't heal and and low immunity, etc. I just put those people in this day and age of all surrounded by pollution and poor quality food and pharmaceuticals and you name it, and I just see them screaming out for not only vitamin C but good nutrition. And as a food source, as you said, food is the foundation. Almost every patient I say, just please do a smoothie with berries and carrot and celery and as the foundation, because that at least gives them a good dose of the essentials. Yeah. And up until that point, a lot of people don't even have a salad or even one vegetable on their plate. Yeah, but a big bowl of fresh berries if you can. Start today.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, or any fresh fruit and veg. You know, if you can grow it and pick it, that's even better.
Yes, food is medicine. And so that I think that's done a good job at giving a foundation of vitamin C and an insight into what it can potentially do. And if you are struggling with your health condition, maybe think about, could that be a missing link? And do you have anything more to add, Brad?
No, I think we've covered it quite well. For one nutrient, it plays a critical role in our health and well-being, and you've got to get it right. If you're not getting it right, well, it could explain a lot of issues you might be dealing with.
Yeah, and be sure to keep on learning with our videos on both of our channel, and I'll put a video right there to carry on with, and see you in the next one. See you later, Brad.